doing a little work today on the chassis. So took a little break from the body today, and I'll maybe do some on the body later tonight. So I've got to do a little work. I'll just give you a little quick shot here. I've got those lower corners all tacked in place, and I had a video making one of those and I somehow deleted it, so that kind of stinks. But this is my front end. So I ordered a 4-inch drop axle, and as of right now I'm planning on running the spring above the axle, and that's a 40 Ford front end, and then I have the 40 Ford rear end over here. So I'm in the process right now of removing the drive shaft. So I'll get the tube off of there and the bracing and everything, just to make it a little easier to do the mock-up stuff and for moving it around. That's all going to need to be shortened anyway, so I'll be splitting the wishbones out and attaching those to the frame. And I have just the Model A spring on there right now, and that bolted right up in place of the 40 Ford spring, so that worked out really well. I will have to do a little bit of work. The ears on the back of the axle here, I don't know if you can see that real well. Get a little zoom, but that's a little chewed up there. So both sides are like that. So once I get ready to start getting things back together, I will repair that damage there. So I've got the drain plugs out and drive shaft propped up, so I'm just getting the oil drained out of that rear axle right now. And then I'm getting ready to start kind of seriously paying some attention to the frame here. So this will be the focus of the next few videos probably. I'll be getting the frame ready to go. So I've got a Model A frame, and overall it's very straight. The rails are straight. It's got surface rust, and it does have some pitting in the metal, but nothing too serious. It's going to clean up okay, and it's going to look good painted. So I had built a T-bucket style frame that I was going to use, and if this doesn't work out the way I'm planning, I'll go back to that and use that frame. But my thinking is that I'm going to take this frame completely apart, get it down to the 2 rails, clean everything up, and then I'm going to narrow this frame so that it'll work. And the main reason I'm doing this is I think it gives it a little more nostalgic look, and I really like the horns in the front. I know I could weld those onto the frame that I built. That frame, when I got it done using the 40 Ford running gear, it wasn't going to work out real well, so I'm going to give this a try. So what my plan is to remove the cross members, so the front, the middle, and the rear. The rear cross member I'm going to reuse as is. I think I'm going to kick the back up a little bit, kick up the frame, so that'll be part of this video. That center cross member, I'll probably end up making a new one. I'll do a little checking, but my thought originally was to just narrow it and reuse it. But right in here, it's got this curve up, and I think with how much I'm going to have to take out of it, I don't know. I may end up doing a notch here, welding a piece in, and then bring that up underneath here. So I may still be able to reuse that. And then what I'm going to do in the front here is I'm going to take an idea from Iron Trap Garage, and one of the cars that Matt's working on and doing videos on, he went ahead and he put a straight front cross member in there. So rather than having that drop down, it just goes straight across. So I'm going to kind of follow that lead, and that will get the frame down in the front 2 more inches from where I'm at now, I think I'm going to have a couple springs that are going to come out, or a couple leaves out of the springs, so that'll be another 1/2 inch. And if that doesn't get me as low as I want to be, then I'll have to go ahead and move that spring behind the axle, and I'll modify the wishbones in the front so that I can run the spring perches off of the wishbones. But that would drop me another few inches. So, but I think this is going to get it to where it needs to be, and give me that drop that I'm looking for the front end. So that's where I am right now. This afternoon is going to be getting rid of the tabs on the sides of the frame here, and then I'll go ahead and get the rivets out of there and get it all apart, and then I can start measuring and getting ready to narrow it. Right now it's at about 26 inches across, and I want it to be 23 inches so that it'll fit that T body, and I'll be able to drop the body down over the frame. So my plan is to have it 23 inches at the front, and then I'm going to do 23 inches across the center cross member here, and that will pull everything in so that body will sit down over the frame. I can channel that down over a little bit, and then I'll do a modification in the back there, see where I need to be width-wise. That's not super critical for me, but I'll go ahead and leave that bend in the frame, so it'll still have that Model A frame look there as well. It's just that it's going to be narrower. So that'll be the next step. So I'll keep updating as I make progress here today. All right, I'll show you the process that I use here for getting these rivets out. They've been coming out real nice. So I have the front cross member out, so I'm working on the center here. So first thing I do is, I almost got ahead of myself, I grind the rivet flat. Then I take a sharp center punch, and I center punch the rivet. Then I've got a 3/16 Cobalt drill bit. Carbide works well too. Now on this step, I'm not drilling all the way through the rivet, so it's coming out the other side. I'm just going in deep enough that I'm deeper into the rivet than the thickness of the frame metal here. And now I'm going to switch over to a 1/4 inch bit. Now at this point, you can usually take a center punch, drop it down into your hole, and a couple of hits, and those rivets pop right out, and then you're ready to move on. So it's just that same process. Grind it smooth, center punch it 3/16, 1/4 inch, and then you can drive it out. What some people I see do, they grind these flat and then they go to their punch right away and they work to drive them out. And what I did is I did that on the first on the front cross member, on the first two that I did on the side. I tried using that technique, and the fear I always have is that when you start pounding those out by just grinding them smooth, because of the way these are pressed in, it indents below the surface of the frame. So you really got to put a lot of pressure on to pound them all the way through, and you almost always get a little bit of a divot then as you pound it through, so it curves that metal, so you're creating a little bit of distortion there. So with this way of doing it, you're able to pound them through. You don't get the distortion, so you don't have to worry about going back and straightening things out later on. So I think as far as overall time saving goes, this is an easy way to do it. You get a nice clean removal, and you don't do any damage to the metal that you want to keep flat.